welcome to Smash Writing. This squirmy noodle is Redfield, and today we're going to be talking about Alien Romulus, directed by Fede Alvarez. I believe that's how you pronounce his first name, Fede. And this is a movie I was really excited for. Big part was because of Alvarez. I really love his work. I couldn't wait to see what he'd do with the xenomorphs. And it could not be worse than the last two that came in this franchise. I was not happy with Covenant or Prometheus. Prometheus wasn't bad, but it was not good either. So, really excited for Romulus, especially after the trailers. And the director gave me some high hopes. And I think I went into this with my expectations a little bit too high. Let's dive in and explain, shall we? This movie opens up with this group of people collecting some debris from what we learn later to be the Nostromo. They crack it open, they take something out, and then the top of it is the xenomorph body. And then we jump back to a mining colony run by everyone's most despicable company. It would be Weyland-Yutani. And you could really tell this is a terrible company. We meet the characters Rain and Andy. They are like siblings. They've been Andy is synthetic. He's been watching after her since her father found him in a scrap pile, and he's, I don't want to say defective, but he's very broken. He doesn't quite operate how he used to. And it's a big day for them. Happy day. Rain has acquired enough working hours to earn her travel papers to get off of this planet, which is an absolute hellhole thanks to Wayland's mining company. Just for her to find out that they've doubled the hours required and she'll be on this planet for not only 5 to 6 more years, but she's been transferred to the mines where everyone keeps dying. But in steps her friends, Tyler, Kay, Navarro, and Dickbags. We're going to call him Dickbags. His name is Bjorn. But this movie continuously reminds you that he's a dick. So we're just going to call him Dickbags, and we're going to be happy about it. They've spotted a spaceship entering the atmosphere. As we found out, it's going to collide with the planet's rings. It's abandoned, but it has enough sleep pods for them all to take those pods and do the 9-year excavation to another planet and get the hell away from Wayland. They need Andy. And despite Dickbag's best efforts, they agree. Andy agrees to go help them because Andy speaks Mother and can open the doors that they need. They head on up, and right away they notice one thing wrong right away, is that this isn't a spaceship, it's a space station kind of deal that's abandoned completely. And they get there, Andy, Tyler, and Dickbags goes on ahead. They find the sleep pods, but they don't have enough fuel, so they're going to have to traverse through the space station to find fuel for the cryopods, because they only have enough fuel for like 3.9 years, 3.7 years. Now, in between this trip, we learn that the one woman, Kay, is pregnant, and that Dickbags doesn't like synthetics because once upon a time they did something terrible to his family. But it doesn't matter to me because Dickbags is so obnoxious that I do not care about his sob story. And better news, though, we're seeing a lot of debris from some xenomorphs, some big-time burn marks. One of the synths on the ship are melted in half. But they finally end up in the Cairo lab where the fuel is being stored. But they trigger an alarm and the door shuts. And Andy doesn't have the clearance to open the doors. So Navarro and Rain come running in. And after a little bit of a struggle with the synth that came back to life momentarily, they get his disc out of him. And they pass it through a crack in the door so they can put it into Andy. But it's going to take a little bit for him to reboot. The problem is doing all of this, the freezing pod sections have been thawing. And face huggers emerge out of them, a bunch of them. The 3 just barely managed to make it out. But a couple get through, and one of them missed Dickbags and gets Navarro. So now they're all panicking, and they get the sliced in half synth up and operating again. And this is where we learned that they collected stuff from the Nostromo, and they thought the xenomorph was dead. but it wasn't. He was still very much alive, and he rampaged through the space station. And there was no way to remove the facehugger from Navarro. But Rain comes up with a way. Freeze the tail. Once the tail is, it'll have to retract from it because of the nitrogen that they're using. And once that does, it can remove it. Despite the fact I do believe the facehuggers have claws on her face too. So bullet moving it should rip her face off, or at least scratch it up real bad. But it does work to manage to get it off. And Andy has updated himself because of the disc that they put in him has been updating and not just repairing them, but making some changes. And he tries to stop them from leaving because you can't take that. You don't know if the facehugger did his job and laid an egg, or laid an alien, whatever you want to call it, inside of Navarro. But Dickbag stops him, and those two make it back onto their ship and lock the other three out. Then they crash the ship into the space station because the chest burst, alien busted out of her chest and knocked those two out. Or Kay out, Navarro's dead, the alien is gone, and Dickbags is out. So now those three have to make it through a danger zone minefield of facehuggers trying to get to where they crashed into the ship so they can get their ship back. Unbeknownst to them, though, Andy had a brief moment to talk to the synth named Rook. And Rook gave him a new directive. Complete the mission and protect the company. Over his previous mission, which was always protect Rain. And they learn of this mission change whenever he won't open the door and save Kay, who gets snatched by the xenomorph. He guides them to this scientific area where Rook had developed these serum things that'll take, pretty much in a nutshell, the best of the Xenos, they're of survivability, and move them into the workers so they'd stop dying and people will last longer in space. And they arm up and they head out to escape, but unbeknownst to them, the rat that they felt was a success is not a success. He's changing into something, but they miss it because they're leaving already. But their escape plan is going to lead them through the nest. And Andy is going to reroute them, but they hear screaming coming from the nest and make it to where Kay is plastered on the wall. She hasn't been impregnated because she was injured between the crash and the xenomorph attack. So they can't put a xenomorph chest burster inside of her yet. So they managed to get her off the wall. And this is where Tyler's grabbed and dragged off by a xeno. And Andy falls to the ground and is incapacitated. And I'm not sure if it's good Andy fighting him for control, or if it's like this blue laser light that's on the ground. Because they don't really, at least I didn't hear them talking about this blue laser field, but Andy does look nervous whenever he first sees it. Kay, who's injured, Andy originally wanted to give her one of the serums to try to save her. But they say, no, we're going to get her to a chiropod and save her whenever they make it back to the colony. Rain gets her onto the elevator just before all the Xenos come crashing onto him, because there's a bunch of Xenos in this nest. But stops the elevator and tells Kay, the elevator will take you to the dropship. I am going to go back and try to save Andy, who still hasn't moved on the ground. And she manages to get the disc out of him and bring back old Andy. And they are pretty much doomed. They're going to be crashing into the rings of the planet very soon. There's no way to get past them without shooting them because the acid will hit the floor and there's nothing below them. There are no floors anymore. If it goes through the floor, it goes into space in instant vacuum. She has the thought, doing a bad dad joke, turn the gravity off. So they turn the gravity off. She manages to mow down the Xenos and just float through the acid, avoiding the acid. And they, after a big fight in the elevator, they manage to make it to the ship, where Kay is dying, but has not departed. She's waiting for them. And this is where they screw over Rook, who expects them to go to the colony and wait for the company. And they're like, no, we're going to go to the planet instead, and shunts him out. And they ship off to the planet. And they're going to go to sleep, but this is an alien movie. And unbeknownst to them, Kay took the injection on the elevator. And since Kay was pregnant, she gives birth to this horrifying monstrosity that, after a big time fight, Rain manages to drop out of the ship and into the rings. Then she puts Andy to bed, who's been injured by the monstrosity, and then she does a recording and goes to bed herself to make the 9-year trip to out of Wayland. And that is Alien Romulus. The scenes look magnificent this time. They do a fantastic job bringing everything to life, making this planet look foul and toxic to be on, and terrible to be on. The shots of the rings at the end were amazing. The xenomorphs look fantastic. From robotics to the puppets to Trevor Newton, I believe his name was, in costume. He looked incredible. They did a wonderful job. And that acid sequence where she's floating through the acid and fighting her way through the elevator is all incredibly done. Well deserved round of applause. The settings and the computers that you're seeing and dealing with all really feel like you're back in that alien world that you've been missing for so long. That futuristic yet old in style kind of deal. And that all look great, and it'll help you get back into the universe. Alright, now this movie has 6 real main characters, 2 of which are fantastic and really interesting. You have 3 that had potential to be interesting and seem to be either amusing or heartwarming or could have been emotional, but don't get enough screen time. And you have one dickbag who gets way too much screen time. We'll start from the interesting ones. Rain and Andy. Their chemistry together and that sibling bond that they have comes across spectacularly. They've got Kayleen Spaney, who plays Rain, and David Johnson, who plays Andy. Their chemistry through the roof. And she is an incredible final girl. If we get a sequel, and by the looks of the money-wise, we're probably going to get a sequel, or at least another chapter in Aliens, you got to bring her back, because she did so well. And I would love to see Andy back up and running again. Now, the other 2, Navarro, Kay, and Taylor, all had great potential. Navarro almost gets nothing. She's pretty much here just to get a face hugger. And that's fine, but you really want to get to know these people before they start to die so that when they do, you can care a little bit. I want to care about the characters, and I don't, because the person who gets the most amount of screen time is Jorn. And while Jorn, yes, the actor did a wonderful job. His name is Spike, I believe his name was. Yeah, Spike Fern. Spike Fern does a great job of being a dick, but at the same time, I get it. He doesn't like the synths. And he complains so much at the beginning of this movie that I just stopped caring about any of the conversations in this movie. Because shut the fuck up. My God, you are dragging this movie and the people around you down. Because I don't understand why anyone would have you on board. You're not useful to any of their escapes. I would have left your ass back on the colony. Good Lord. Andy's little change from the good, loving robot to the villain robot. I kind of saw that coming the moment this disc was put into it. I kind of got down on that idea. Because I would have thought like a much better idea would have been like a rogue rook who's either gotten onto another synth or he's controlling everything. Because you do see that he takes control of the ship, their ship and everything. And I think it would have been a much better idea to have like the superior synth who doesn't have a body but is controlling everything, and you had Andy who's a bit defective in everything having to try to outwit Rook throughout this movie. I think that would have been a better idea. I think it would have been a better idea just to have them all on the spaceship. And I think that's the biggest disappointment in this movie, is that there seems to be like echoes of a better movie here than what we got, and everything was a bit too cliche or annoying to deal with. And there were so many like loose threads that could have been done and better and everything than what we got. The monstrosity at the end of this, I'm going to call it the monstrosity. I don't know what else to call it. Oh, that was terrible. That was not good. Like, I'm not a person who gets scared of movies or creatures or monsters or anything. I haven't been scared of a horror movie since 2003, 2004. But like, I appreciate a good monster. Is what it's not so much scary as I appreciate what good monsters look like and everything, the work they, the appeal of them. And you have a thing that looks gorgeous in the xenomorph. Instead of having more xenomorphs or anything, we get this shit that's just get it out of my eyeballs, please. That is, yeah, I was not on board for the final monstrosity. Before I give the final grade, like I said, I'm complaining a lot, but I do want to see a sequel come out of this because like I said, I think Rain is such an interesting character and a good final girl. I'd love to see her come back. The director said he wants to do a Alien versus Predator movie by Dan Trachtenberg, unless that fucking site was lying. Don't do that to me. Yeah, I would love to see an Alien versus Predator movie coming from Fede and Dan, who did Prey. Especially if you're gonna bring back like Rain or something like that, or even Noguchi. I cannot remember her first name. The woman from the comics who becomes a human predator kind of deal. Yeah, I want Alien versus Predator again. I want more of that. But my final grade for this is going to be a C plus. And like I said at the beginning of this, I think I might have just went in with too high expectations. Because my expectations were very high. I was expecting a bit of something else than what we got here. But like I said, the negatives really hurt it for me here. And there are a lot of cool things, and I might sit down and watch this movie again for the cooler things. But I can't go higher than a C plus. And that's all that's from me today. So, have a good day, night, evening, afternoon, whatever, wherever you are. And as always, bye-bye.